Hello, Hannah here, just to tell you that the clips you're about to watch are from my podcast, Doing It. We've just launched season 5. If you didn't know, I have a podcast where I interview lots of different people about sex and relationships. This is the first episode of season 5 with the amazing Emily Nagoski, and one of the cool things that we've started doing is video. So you may see some video clips from the podcast appearing on my YouTube channel. Going forwards, you can listen to the full episode wherever you get your podcasts, and also the full video episode, if that's how you would like to consume your podcast, is available on my Patreon, which is patreon.com/Hannah Witton. I hope you enjoy these clips. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to Doing It wherever you get your podcasts: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Overcast, Pocket Casts. I don't know other names of places, but yes, go listen. Enjoy.
One of the things that happened in the science after 2014 was it became really unambiguous that the people who have a mismatch between how much their genitals are experiencing blood flow and how turned on they feel is straight women.
Oh, interesting.
Right? Which we still don't know why.
Huh. Oh, okay, yeah, because I read the first edition and it was more like this happens in cis women, but it's like even more specific than that.
Yeah,
it's straight cis
straight women. And let me say that we just don't have the research on trans women or non-binary people. Her struggle was like, how do you start having sex before you want it? And I was like, responsive desire. Like, you only
There's your answer.
It will emerge in response to arousal. And it was only a couple of days later that I remembered some Victorian porn that I was exposed to as part of my sexual attitude reassessment training, where over and over the story is that he starts sexually touching a woman and she resists and says no and tries to get away, but eventually her lubricious temperament will not allow her to resist anymore.
Right, yeah.
So if you just like grab a woman and start doing things to her, eventually she will not be able to help liking it. And I realized that people were reading arousal first, then desire as like, just do stuff and eventually the person won't be able to help it. And I was like, oh no.
Oh no. Yeah.
No.
So how does it actually work then? Responsive desire.
The thing is, technically that is how it works, which is why I was like, what do I do? And all I had to do was recognize that when I said arousal, people were hearing genital response. And I was like, no. Okay, so what's a word I can use that means the thing I intend it to mean? And the word I can use is pleasure. It's pleasure, because it's only arousal that happens in a context where a person's brain is willing to interpret a sensation as pleasurable, because we know from arousal non-concordance and we know from the context sensitivity of pleasure that just because your body is responding doesn't mean you want or like what is happening. In the same way that the pandemic interfered with our natural ability to get our needs for connection met, the modern world interferes with our ability to get our basic stress response needs met. So what completes the stress response cycle doesn't match what deals with the thing that caused the stress in the first place. So like traffic or even relationship conflict. Because if you're stuck in traffic, you're like sitting on the train and like your body is having the same physiological response as if you were being chased by a lion, which is sort of the evolutionary origin of it. Like you got this adrenaline response so that you can beat the crap out of somebody or run away. And like, that's not going to help you. It's not going to make the train move any faster. It's not going to make people smell any better. It's not going to get them to like get off the train any faster. Like you're just sitting there stewing in this stress juice. And then you get off the train and you get home, and do you feel better now? Do you feel like, the sun shines brighter and I love my
I guess
friends
it depends
and
what welcomes you when you get home.
Well, also, how do you welcome them when you walk in the door? Because you're like, and people receive that energy when you get home. So even though you've dealt with the stressor by actually making it out of the traffic,
yeah,
you have to do something that deals with the stress itself, which
that is stored in the body.
Yeah. It's like your body wants to purge all this chemistry. And there are 7 evidence-based strategies for doing this just in chapter 1. The most efficient is usually
screaming
physical
one
activity.
of them.
Oh, screaming is one of them. Yes.
Yes.
Screaming, laughing, and crying are all absolutely. Jumping up and down and shaking, any form of physical movement. Hugging until relaxed is one. And connection of many different kinds, where you're just like engaging in behaviors that help your body to shift out of the stress response and into the relaxation response. These are the behaviors that tell your body is now a safe place for you to be.
And then I guess also just like the general stress, like especially if you're somebody with a marginalized identity and just like living in a world that is sexist, transphobic, homophobic, racist, like ableist, all these things, that is just like a constant stress on your life. And it's like, well, like that stressor unfortunately isn't going away anytime soon. Like we can do stuff to help, but like we can't just like snap our fingers and it's gone. So I guess you do have to find ways just to like on a daily, weekly basis to move through the cycle,
right?
So and that stressor isn't.
In fact, when it comes to identity stress, when just going out into the world is a stressor, it is an act of revolution. It is an act of rebellion to engage in completing the stress response cycle in a world that doesn't really care whether you live or die. For you to care that your body stays healthy and well, and to dedicate time and attention, as Audre Lorde said, caring for myself is an act of rebellion. We should look up what the actual quote is. Caring for myself is not self-indulgence. It is self-preservation, and that is a revolution. It's important for people because people lack education, like just like basic vocabulary, like the difference between pleasure, desire, arousal, and consent. People have a script in their head of how sex is supposed to be that is so dominant that they can't even recognize the ways what a great sex life for them looks like in the absence of somebody else's standard. So a really helpful exercise for anybody in a situation like this, whether the higher desire partner or the lower desire partner, is to answer a series of questions. One of them is, what is it that I want when I want sex? It's not orgasm. You can do that by yourself. What is it, though, that I want? What in particular is it about having sex with this person that I want? And what is it that I like when I like sex? Recognizing that desire and pleasure are not the same thing. Desire is, what is the place I want to go? What is the state I want to achieve? What is the outcome I'm looking for when I want sex? What is it that I want? What is it that I like is, what do I enjoy in the moment as our bodies or our voices or our texts are there in the moment? Like, what am I liking? What does that pleasure feel like? And then there's also the questions, what is it that I don't want when I don't want sex?